HOA story time, what to do with my Karen neighbor with an update. I moved into my townhouse a few months back and quickly realized just how crazy one of my neighbors is. The day after the old owners moved out, there was an ordinance violation from the city on my door saying that we left trash out on the curb for too long. The old owners called the trash company to pick up their stuff when they moved, but Karen still sent a notice on them to the city because she hated them. She even told us that she was specifically being petty because they never took care of their property. And that's where my issue with her comes in. There's a little front area with a tree and a space for flowers and bushes, and the old owners did neglect it a bit, so the first thing I did was rip out all the old dead plants. I covered the ground with new soil and spread some seed mix for pollinating flowers. There was no life in that old soil, so I figured I'll just spread this mix and see what grows. A few weeks later, I get a warning in my mail from the HOA that there's too many weeds and I have to pull them out. I text the president and I say that it's flowers budding and they're not weeds. She says, fine, and that's done. Everything overgrew a tad, so I went out and ripped out all the overgrown plants and trimmed it down. Yesterday, someone from the HOA is out in the front, trimming the budding branches off the front tree. I've never seen her, so I go out to ask what they're doing, and she says that she's HOA, and I go back inside. I go back to my office, which overlooks the front, and lo and behold, Karen is crap talking me to the HOA lady for 10 minutes. She's making crazy gestures to our house and throwing out accusations about how we don't take care of the property. No one wants to look at it. Look how pretty theirs is, and blah blah. She also throws out some of our other neighbors under the bus, including one who has the giant mailbox for all the units at the end of their driveway. She said even though it's city property, they should be taking care of it. How dare they? So Tuesday night is a board meeting, and I'm considering going just to shut down Karen, but I'm not sure what approach to bring to the table. Do I be overly nice and maliciously compliant? Do I be a petty bee back? I could bring up that Karen throws a garage sale every single weekend for her insane couponing stock that she can't get rid of, and cars always block my driveway because of it. I don't know what to do, and this is my first time dealing with an HOA, so how should I proceed? Update. So I went to the meeting yesterday, and it was only a few people on the board plus Karen, who I guess is an alternate. She looked ticked when I walked over and said to everyone, "Hey, she's my new neighbor, the one that moved into the crazy people's house." You might ask, why were the previous owners crazy? Because she never saw them leave the house. Frankly, they were probably smart if they were able to avoid her 24/7 surveillance of the driveway. I went into the conversation with an open mind and waited for her to make any comments. I, at least, was able to put in that some people may be unaware of their regulations regarding landscaping, and making that explicit and objective as possible would be helpful, so I'm glad that I went. Otherwise, I'm pretty sure the HOA would try to leave it up to subjective judgments. Also, some noted that the HOA probably knows that she's loony, but they think she's perfectly normal, even after she said that she cuts the grass missed by the contractor lawnmower with scissors. Do you agree with this? Look through the Sydney ordinance to see if there are rules on garage sales or home business. Report her if she's not following the rules, like needing a permit. Check to see if the HOA allows home business as well. If she's selling enough stuff, the IRS might be interested. What do you think? The HOA board president is a hoarder and stores trash under his staircase. Posted by No Organization 1286. My HOA is horrible. They do not want election rules. They refuse to take accountability for giving fraudulent financials and gave a crook of a manager a raise instead of canceling his contract. At the last meeting, they were talking about fining people for leaving items under their storage boxes instead of inside. Mind you, the inside of the storage boxes has leaks that the HOA has not fixed for more than 3 years. I'm generally a peaceful person, but this HOA has me livid. I can feel my blood boil. I snapped and I lost my mind. So, I decide to do a cleanup of the property. I went first to where the contractor left behind their trash, the unusable remnants of a fountain that was removed more than 2 years ago. I collected the musty towel that one of the previous board members, who doesn't let others use the spa, leaves for himself when he goes swimming. I put that in the trash. I took debris of planters. I took the sliding door that has been leaning against the building for literally 1 year. I removed the luggage that was left for someone to take, and I walked to Goodwill. And then I did the worst thing. I went beneath the staircase in the common area where the president stores her items that no longer fit in the condo. I knew it was hers, but I knew I could pretend it was trash. She had plastic containers in trash bags, like ate a grocery store salad, washed the container, and kept it. She has foam for going under the carpet. She had broken glass. I took it all. I went to the elevator room next, and I removed the passive-aggressive rules that the previous board had left in the entryway, covering the whole bulletin board. They were not allowing others to post and had all these rules that were in plastic but had been there so long that they had faded. I ripped it all out. I threw it away. It was like the best feeling in the world, like a drug. And then she had a meltdown and sent me an email called "Cease and Desist from Placing Junk in Front of Complex." It has accusations that I was collecting personal materials and called the association's trash company. I think it's hilarious, and I know they will not be happy with me, and I lost political power, but honestly, FHOA, what a scam. I was so responsible. I put some in the trash, and I made a pile to pull out my car and take the bulky items to the dump. This was unacceptable to them, seen as wicked and mean-spirited. The secretary said if I ever vandalism his property again, he will file a police report. This comment says, "Boy, you sure showed them doing all that hard work for free. But was it worth it to do it for free to help get back at the HOA?" This commenter with a Joe Gatto profile picture, loving practical jokers, I've seen Joe live before, says, "Post a camera that points to the stairs in case she tries to store more things and tries to say it's yours." Apple's holier-than-thou attitude is their undoing in court, posted by Matchbox. About 1.5 years ago, I was having issues with both my MacBook and iPhone and went on to schedule a Genius Bar appointment. This used to be an easy task. You just went to the support site and scheduled one. But over time, Apple has foolishly attempted to reduce the load on the Genius Bars by putting up various roadblocks to getting an appointment. I assume Angela, the Senior Vice President of Retail, has just decided that this is cheaper than hiring more staff, and that most of the customers are rabid enough to still buy Apple tech despite the blow this causes to customer service. After finally jumping through a number of hoops to get a Genius Bar appointment, I'm prompted to enter my Apple ID and password. I'm told that, since it's been 3 months, I need to change it, for what is now probably the 10th time since having that Apple ID. I can continue to use it on the App Store and iCloud and such, but if I want a service appointment, I must change it. Having gone through this for the last several times to get an appointment, I finally hit my wit's end, decided it's an unnecessary step to just get my product serviced, and escalate the matter through the BBB. Apple's initial response to the BBB, or Better Business Bureau, is a form letter saying that I need to just change the password because it's in my best interest for security reasons, and that they won't make any exceptions. I respond again, indicating that this is bad customer service and incongruent with the Apple Credo, which is customer service principles that all employees are trained in. Their next response was that Apple considers this matter closed. I hate that response. It's corporate speak for, "You're not worth our time anymore. Go away." The BBB closed the case shortly thereafter. I do some research and determined that, through my Apple Care Plus policy that I was paying for on both devices, there was actually no catch-all clause for why Apple could refuse to service the device. There were several exclusions, but arbitrary account security requirements were not part of them. I filed suit in small claims court for replacement value of the laptop and phone. Here's where things got interesting. I show up to the court date and the case is called. I come up to my podium, and at the defendant's podium appears the manager from the store I used to work at. It was in the same county as the court, but significantly farther away than an Apple store that was actually just a mile from the courthouse. I never confirmed this, but I think Apple didn't pay attention to the details of the complaint on the form, just did a name lookup, and assumed that because I had previously worked at the store, that this was some employment dispute. The judge asked me to explain why I'm suing, and in about a minute, I'm able to concisely explain that Apple was putting up an unnecessary and extra contractual blockade to me getting a service appointment for my broken devices, so I was suing to replace the devices. The judge then turns to the store manager, who has arrived at court in a t-shirt and jeans. I'm in a full suit out of respect for the court, but before asking for Apple's side of the story, he asks if the manager is a lawyer. The manager says he is not. The judge says that my state's laws require that only a chief executive or registered agent can represent a company in court, or they have to hire a lawyer to remove it to a higher district court. The manager responds that he understands, but that he's happy to set up a Genius Bar appointment right here, right now, at my convenience to get the products repaired. The judge deems this reasonable. We agree on a time for me to come into my old store for service, and the case is continued for 2 weeks out on the chance that things don't work out. I attend my appointment, and the technician is able to resolve all of my issues, and in addition, a senior Apple technician contacts me by email to indicate that he's overridden the password expiration requirement on my Apple ID, and I will never have to change it again. Cool deal, but I'm still out $60 for filing this court case to actually get things moving along. I appear for the continued court date, and the same manager appears again too. The docket is especially busy on this date, and we have a different judge who is slashing through cases, no nonsense. We're called, and I indicate that while we were able to resolve the problems with my equipment since the original trial, and I am no longer seeking replacement value for my products, I should not have had to sue Apple to get this type of treatment that aligned with their contractual obligations to me as an AppleCare Plus customer, and believe that I should be awarded the $60 in court fees. The judge turns to the store manager and asks if he's a lawyer. Manager says no. Judge number 2 gives him the same spiel. Manager retorts that he still believes that the court fees shouldn't be Apple's responsibility because blah blah blah. And judge, pressed for time, turns to me and says, "I assume you don't want to have to come back here again for them to get a lawyer?" I say no, thinking that he's just going to give me the full $60, but instead he says, "Okay, then you'll just split it so that we don't have to waste any more time on this. $30 to the plaintiff." According to my state's laws, a prevailing party gets all of their court costs. As such, I really disagree with the way the judge handled that, splitting it because he was in a hurry. I reach out to Apple's paralegal, who had emailed me right after the original trial to confirm that the Genius Bar appointment, cite the relevant law, and say that the judge was pretty clearly in the wrong, and ask Apple to just cut me a check for the full $60. Otherwise, I'd have to appeal, which was an extra $125. They would surely lose and then owe me $185. I was more or less appealing to their common sense. They didn't have any, responding that they would follow the court's judgment only and cut a check for $30. I think their pompousness continued in assuming that I was bluffing about the appeal. So, I appealed. Since the small claims court is a subordinate of the district court, it actually got appealed to the highest court in the county, the circuit court. This is big boy court. No BSing. I appear for my court date, and again, the same manager shows up. Judge is a bouncy guy in a bow tie, clearly had his coffee, and is pleasant to everyone. I present my case that the lower court only awarded me partial cost, and the state law required that I get the entire amount since judgment was entered in my favor. Judge turns to the manager. "Are you a lawyer?" He says no, but he has a letter from Apple's chief legal counsel saying that it's okay with them that the manager represents them. The judge does not like this, and his demeanor changes instantly. "Apple does not decide what you can or cannot do in my courtroom. You need an attorney, so we'll probably need to continue this case." Judge turns to me. "Do you object to a continuance for the defendant to get an attorney?" I say, "Yes, I do, Your Honor, because they've actually been told 3 times now that they need to have a lawyer, and they keep disrespecting this court by sending the same layman to argue on their behalf." Judge turns to the manager and, with a sarcastic grin and obviously fake, "It's out of my hands," hand gesture, says, "Sorry." The judgment is entered in my favor for $185. As if that wasn't good enough, after 30 days, Apple still hasn't paid. I reach out to the paralegal again, and they say that they are still looking into their options, as if they were going to appeal to the state Supreme Court, which had to have been done within those 30 days. Again, Apple thinks that they're too good to follow court instructions or do what's best for them. but they seem to have forgotten that I used to work for them. I have my credit union look up one of the old ACH transactions from my payroll, and I ask them what bank that was drafted from. They tell me Wachovia. I go back to court, file garnishment proceedings against Apple via Wachovia. Now, I was able to skip the discovery portion since I already knew where they were keeping at least $185, and Wachovia, of course, cuts me a check within days. Always clear your memory card before pawning an item. Posted by Vatican Cameos 714. Basically, a lady we'll call Leech, for various reasons made clear at the end, spent a year helping her best friend, Psycho, harass my family and I over a custody dispute. Leech wasn't related to the family at all, just a friend with an affinity for causing drama. She would make fake profiles along with Psycho and tried to fish information about us out of our friends and family. Just some real nasty stuff. Leech would take the online harassment further than Psycho, which never made any sense to me because I never had a personal problem with Leech. We had known each other back in grade school and were even casual friends. She used our past history to try to weasel into my friends list, but I already saw that she was helping Psycho slander my name online and didn't buy into her malarkey. She then started copying my display pictures and making them into ugly memes. Any post that I made public was instantly captured and mocked on her stepmother's support page. Leech was dating the best friend of Psycho's husband. Her boyfriend had a daughter from a previous relationship, and Leech was a proud and attentive stepmother. Most of her identity revolved around being a stepmother. The page on which she posted the memes that she made and the posts she had stole had been running for a number of years and had nearly 10,000 members. She created it herself. She and Psycho also started a handful of other pages for the sole purpose of harassing and mocking us. A couple I had to have legally removed. Police were involved in everything. This had been going on since before March, and for Christmas that year, my wife's grandmother got each of the great-grandkids a 3DS. To save some money, she went to a pawn shop for some gently used consoles and games. This is where karma had dealt us a sweet hand. Nana had purchased 4 3DS in total. The one my daughter just happened to get had a memory card inside full of photos. Upon a quick scan, I realized the people looked familiar. It was Leech and her boyfriend. Over and over, dozens of photos, some a little racy. Why else would I be given this opportunity? Of course I was meant to use them, right? I immediately get to work uploading every photo and file and set up a fake email account with bits of her information to make it look like hers. I joined any and all free dating sites that I could think of, even downloaded some apps that aren't advertised as dating, but we all know that's how they're used. In short, I plastered her selfies everywhere. I refrained from using the inappropriate ones because I just didn't feel right about that. Implied loose morals was as far as I wanted to take it. I answered a couple of messages on each site to make it look more authentic, even sharing more innocent enough selfies to prove I was the real deal. A while ago, I'd come across Leech's cell phone number online. She had shared it in a public comment, and I was in the process of screen capping any post she made about my family. I had screen capped that comment too, but hadn't done anything with it. I was just gathering and retaining all the information I could, and my patience was about to pay off. After giving a few guys that number, I didn't bother logging on anymore. That was enough damage, I thought. It would be easy enough for her to prove that she had never visited those sites, and they should be able to recognize the photos as being taken with a crappy lens of an early 3DS. But then the other boot dropped. After a few weeks, maybe a month, I go snooping on Leech's stepmother's support page to see if she had anything to say about my antics, but it was quiet. Weird. I check out her profile and find all her past posts have been hidden, and the boyfriend scrubbed of all the photos available. When I check out his profile, there's a gigantic rant about unfaithful witches. Oops. Turns out, Leech had been sleeping with her boyfriend's best friend, the guy Psycho was married to, older brother. It had been going on for some time, and no one knew anything, not even Psycho. If the boyfriend hadn't confronted her about the random texts she was getting from these guys, he never would have seen the other texts that were cleverly disguised to hide the affair. Being a self-proclaimed stay-at-home stepmom, he had visitation every other weekend and 2 weeks in the summer, Leech had no interest in holding a job. The boyfriend owned and paid for everything, including her cell phone. When he found out about the affair, he kicked her out of the house and he took her phone. He pawned all of it to pay off some of the enormous debt she had put him in. The reason the 3DS was in the pawn shop at all was because he needed some extra cash. It was his 3DS, and he had pawned it for some money for a present for her. He wasn't able to pay it back in time, and the shop owner resold the item. That's why the memory card wasn't wiped or anything. I'd say it was meant to be. HOA Karen demands what I do on my property, but I'm not even in the HOA. Click the video on your screen so you don't miss the crazy fallout of this one, and I'll see you there.